Hello, this is the Story Kiosk, a new community podcast sharing short, true stories written by you, our listeners. I'm your host, Julian. Welcome to the show. I hope you're all feeling well, keeping nice and toasty as winter begins to bite, at least up here in the Northern Hemisphere. This episode's story is a pretty special one, not only because I think the contents are really very sweet, but also because it's the first independent submission that I've had the pleasure of featuring on the podcast. So far, this project has been sustained by stories shared by friends of mine, but this is the first to come to me from someone I don't know personally, in this case a very kind contributor called Mary. Mary's story is a wonderfully charming, gently chaotic tale about a very curious and adventurous Siamese cat named Mewsli, whose personality really shines through in Mary's telling. So let's get into it without further ado. Today's story is titled A Boating Cat. Mewsli was a Siamese cat which we had from a kitten. He lived a very full and exciting life until he was 17 years old. We also had a narrowboat which we used for holidays all year round, so when Mew came to live with us we knew we would have to introduce him to the boat as soon as possible. We were told the problem would be trying to stop him running away, so someone told us we should train him to come to a bell when we rang it. We tried this at home first and it worked very well. We rang the bell and gave him a treat and repeated this. Then we rang the bell when he was away from the house, and he would come bounding up the garden. So far, so good. But there was a mobile fish and chip van which used to come down our close every Tuesday, and they rang a bell to announce their arrival. Fish and chip van arrived, rang the bell, and Mew came charging up the garden. More treats. On the boat, the bell worked very well. We would moor up for the night, and Mew would go off exploring and hunting, and the next morning, if he wasn't in bed, which was highly likely, we would ring the bell and he would appear from the undergrowth or running down the towpath. As he became more familiar with the boat and its routine, we didn't need to use the bell, as he came running as soon as the engine was started. Sometimes on his forays he would meet up with either dogs or the local moggy, and then he would flee and take his stand on the boat. This was quite a good escape plan, except it had one flaw. He would take a flying leap onto the deck, which was slippery, so he would just carry on and drop unceremoniously into the canal. This happened on several occasions, but one time he did this after being chased by a rather fierce-looking local cat. He jumped onto the boat and slid right across until he dropped off into the water. He swam around the bow to be confronted by a very surprised cat, which wondered where he had disappeared to, only to be confronted by a totally different-looking creature which emerged from the water. For his part, Mew had to try and look fierce as he stalked out of the water, dripping wet with spiky fur and looking most undignified. Unfortunately, Mew had ambitions to have duck for dinner, and watched them very closely, but he never seemed to get the opportunity to take one. One night, we had gone to bed, and Mew had gone out to try his luck hunting. The peace and quiet was suddenly disturbed by much quacking, and then a loud splash. I sensed immediately this had to be Mew. Next thing, the cat flap banged open and a dripping wet cat jumped on us in the bed. No chance of sleep until he was dried off. There was hardly a day went by when we were boating that Mew didn't fall in. He was a very good swimmer, but it did nothing for his mood. He was always furious after a ducking, but it didn't seem to put him off at all, and he continued to adventure out, sometimes coming back dry, but not always. Huge thanks to Mary for sharing that story about the wonderful, daring Mewsli, and for breaking the seal on independent submissions to the Story Kiosk. I can almost picture in my mind's eye a children's picture book inspired by Mewsli's adventures. So, if any book editors or illustrators out there want to get in touch with Mary, just drop us a line on Instagram or via email and I'll happily connect you. If you enjoyed this episode, please follow or subscribe to the podcast. It really helps us to reach new listeners. And though the year is starting to wind down, we're still very much on the lookout for new stories as well. If you'd like to put one forward for the podcast, please visit our website, www.storykioskpod.com, to learn a bit about the submissions process. The tale of Mewsli will, I'm sure, spark a lot of memories for listeners, so if you're looking for a writing prompt, tell us about a childhood pet, whether it be a cat, a dog, goldfish, tortoise, parakeet, pony, chinchilla, whatever takes your fancy. We'll wrap up there. Thank you again to Mary for sharing her story about Mewsli. Thank you for listening. And wherever in the world you find yourself, we wish you a good morning, a good day, or a good night. The next episode of the Story Kiosk will be out in a couple of weeks. Until then, take care.